Hello, we are starting our reading vlog for The Butcher's Masquerade, which is book 5 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. The first thing that's introduced in this book that is sick and twisted and disgusting that the players are being, the crawlers are being forced to deal with now is hunters. People from the audience that are now entering into the next floor of the dungeon early, mind you, so that they can participate in the games and try picking off the crawlers themselves. The line when Carl is, when they're trying to get him to forfeit his relic from the last book, and Carl's like, I'm not saying anything until I get a lawyer. My first thought is, Carl, we're in a different world right now. That's not the way these things work. But I was wrong. He got a lawyer, much to everyone's surprise, including Carl's. The dynamic of the lawyer is super interesting to me because the way we're getting information very slowly, just getting a piece of conversation and then moving on to the actual dungeon. So I don't fully know what's going on here or how much I can trust the lawyer. I am inclined to trust him. It feels like he's trustworthy and he actually is going to help Carl, and we're just going to watch it unfold because of, getting the information very slowly. So I'm excited to see exactly how useful he is and what he's doing. Oh, also they got their upgrades, at the beginning of the book like they always do. Donut is a singer now. She's a bard. And what is it? Her spells effectiveness depend on her singing on tune, but she doesn't have the auto-tune upgrade yet, so it just has to be her. And the singing in the audiobook, it's making my day.
The shadow's cold, the eyes and the smile. I see shadows in my mind, trying to be gone. Shadow in my mind, Carl! Quit bouncing around, you're making me mess up the lyrics.
Truly nothing could have been better for this book than this move right here. Poor everyone around her that has to deal with this, and yay me. Oh goodness, there's so much. I'm trying to remember everything that happened, which is difficult because I should have stopped and done an update a while ago, but the book got away from me. I'm really enjoying seeing all these side characters that we have interacted with more in recent books, actually seeing them still interacting. Katya has left the group, yet we're still talking to her constantly. Zev has had something happen to her. I still don't fully understand what's going on with Zev, yet she's still around regularly. The Prepotentes, so many characters that I probably will not remember many names of, but they're all characters that I have really enjoyed getting to know, and I'm glad that we're not just moving on from them, that we're still in communication with a lot of them. Donut has had so much room in this book to be explored a little bit more, which I'm really grateful for because I feel like she's been sidelined a little bit recently. But in this book, she's getting a lot of scenes so far. We have the scene where she kind of breaks down and says, everyone always leaves me, I don't know why. And Carl realizes, even though she keeps bringing up that the 9th floor is coming and, they're going to, there's been a lot of build-up for the 9th floor because of the tiara and all that comes alongside of that, and Carl just keeps saying, he keeps putting it off and just being like, we'll deal with it when we get there, which to him is like, we'll deal with it when we get there. But I guess that's not been enough confirmation for Donut, and in her pattern in life of being abandoned, she's just kind of expecting or hoping against more of the same. And so when Carl realizes that, and he's like, I'm not leaving you on the 9th floor. We'll get through it. That scene was really, really good. It was really vulnerable for Donut and kind of getting, we already know that Donut knows that Beatrice was going to get rid of her, and that hurts, and she's kind of putting on a facade about how she feels about Beatrice. But that gave us a lot more insight into what's going on in her mind. And then later too, when Odette reveals that she actually rescued, I guess you could say, Beatrice. And oh my goodness, there's so much mystery around that. She got Beatrice, and she is using Beatrice as blackmail, but that wasn't the main reason. And she won't actually divulge what's going on. She's just like, there was a conflict with Mort. Did she call it a betrayal? So she did something to Mort, I think. And she's like, you need to talk, which by the way, Mordecai has had a race change. Which he does in every floor. Anyway, sorry. She's like, ask him to tell the story. Why don't you just tell us? Like, what's the point? Is it just delayed Is it just delayed information? Like, is this just a storytelling device, or is there a reason why Odette herself is not telling us? Anyway, Carl does not trust Odette at this point. You know, again, we circle back to, you told me not to trust anyone if I don't understand their motivations. I don't understand your motivations, which, I mean, honestly, like, Odette, okay, clearly Odette is being censored and she's not able to say everything that she wants to say. I personally do trust Odette. I think that she is trying to fight the system from the inside as well. I think her goals are similar to Carl's, and she just has things that are hindering her from being able to communicate clearly and for being able to do it in as overt of a way as Carl is. But I understand why Carl doesn't trust her, because everyone is manipulating him. Everyone has ulterior motives. And if Odette is not being forthright, explaining what's going on and just being like, ask Mordecai, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's not going to garner trust from someone who deservedly has trust issues at this point. He trusts his other Carls, but anyone that's playing the game, anyone that's playing puppeteer, that's pulling strings in the game, he just inherently doesn't trust, and we can't blame him for that, even though I do think that we can trust Odette. But anyway, she brings Beatrice into the talk show, and the poor thing. I mean, it's tough because I don't like Beatrice, because I'm loyal to Carl and Donut, and she has treated them so very wrong. But also, she's been through it. Boy. Being basically a shell of what she was. Lost a lot of weight, looking really haggard, but dressed up, you know, in this very, I want to say elegant, but that doesn't really capture, it's like she's dressed up as a doll, as like a thing, as she's a tool to create drama, but it's almost like a mockery of her. That's not true, but it's a disregard of what she's been through in this, you know, elegant ball gown that's also very revealing in a way that it seems like she probably wouldn't have chosen for herself. She's being paraded around for the sake of cheap thrills, which is what everybody is in this. All the crawlers are. But anyway, she is now a pawn to be a foil, and it seems like there are going to be other pawns much like her that are drawn into the game to be foils to the crawlers. And the way Carl and Donut played it off, it was so cold, but, you know, deservedly so. Donut was just acting completely aloof, acted like she didn't care at all. And what's sad is I don't really think that affected Beatrice at all. You know, like, Donut just licking her paw, just manicuring herself and not worried about Beatrice, treating everything as if it's no big deal. Beatrice really was only focused on Carl. So it seemed like I don't think playing aloof really actually did anything for Beatrice. But Carl too was just like, I'm not here for you. You're not my priority. I have bigger things to worry about. No, you can't be around me. No, you can't come to me. No, I'm not going to rescue you. Kind of mentality. I mean, that wasn't the dialogue. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was basically a brush off for both of them. And then Donut, which was not the kind of drama that they were looking for in the show, but Odette still seemed pleased with it. And then after it was all done, Donut asked, you know, are the cameras off? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna let you have it. And between the scene of her extreme vulnerability and now her anger of, I loved you and I thought that you loved me too. And I know you had other cats before. I knew you were gonna have other cats too, but like, you were my person. I thought I was yours too. I believed that you cared for me, that you actually loved me, and I was wrong. You're not my person. Carl's my person. You treated him poorly. Yes, he's stupid, but didn't deserve all of that. You were disloyal to him. You were disloyal to me. I'm out too. And that at least be, you know, recognized. She at least responded to. So I wonder if that's going to be kind of a wake-up call for her, and she's going to realize that the way she treated Donut was wrong. Or, I mean, I don't know. She's going through so much too. I don't know. There's probably a lot that I'm forgetting in this. I've read a good chunk of the book at this point. There's probably a good amount I'm forgetting, but those are some of the highlights here at the very beginning for me. And probably as things build off of each other, I'll return back to some of the other early things that have happened as I talk about them as they continue to build. But so far, great start. Oh, I forgot about Mongo. Oh, poor Donut. Again, I'm talking about Donut. Poor Donut, when she had to watch Mongo grow up with the other dinosaur. And It went on for too long. And Donut was just beside herself, scandalized. No, she's too old for Mongo. Get off of her. Stop it. You know, all of that. And then when Mongo came back to her and she's like, are you sick? She seems like a disease-ridden dinosaur. Like, she's the type. Like, oh, poor Donut. She just is not willing to deal with all of that. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna stop now. There's just a lot that has been happening, obviously, but I think I covered some of the big setup stuff. Hopefully, maybe. Welcome to the vlog. Hello. So, Carl. Oh no. I've read too much. This one's been hard to put down. This has been a tricky one to vlog because, it's just, I don't know, it's like moving faster than it should, and all of a sudden I've read too much. So, you know what? It's fine. I don't need to hit every single plot point anyway, and these books are getting the more time that is put in them and the more broader things that are going on. You know, the books are always chaotic, but they just continue to be more and more chaotic. So trying to hit every single plot beat is kind of a ridiculous goal anyway. So we're just going to focus on the big events and the big emotions, because the big emotions are really getting me in this book. One thing that I forgot to mention in the last vlog clip was we have the ball, the Masquerade, at the end of the book, which is what the book is named after, so it's kind of important, but that's what everything is building to. And at the point that I am in my current reading, yeah, I'm pretty close to it. So we have a lot to talk about. Starting with the con. Well, there's so much that's been going on. Let me first talk about Samantha, because I am surprised at how much I have enjoyed her in this book. She was always a funny gag, but she actually is a character that I'm loving on page now. Like, her dynamic with Donut cracks me up. You know, the constant snipping back and forth at each other, always fighting, and their unique yet similar personalities. They also get each other to an extent, you know, like, I think it was the bear, maybe? I don't remember. But there was one point where they were reporting back to Carl on what had just happened, and they were talking about another character and what he did and all that, and then they were like, fantastic hat, though. Yes, his hat was fabulous. You know, like, they're great together. But then, like, at one point, Carl uses Samantha as a missile, and then she's got a hold of someone, and she's like, I've almost got him. And then Carl ends up summoning them both to him. And, you know, she adds a lot to the chaos of it all, as well as a lot to the group dynamics. I've been really surprised at how much I enjoy her in this book. But we've also had a lot of really big emotional beats, like watching some of our friends grieve their fallen comrades, as well as so much nonsense. Like when Carl had to judge the art competition for the kids, and it's more of like, you know, it's funny and it's light, but at the same time, the emphasis is still on, look how sick this whole thing is, that we're pulling crawlers to do this competition and to give people the opportunity to meet them. There's the way that they kind of talk, like, you have children, so they're just going to repeat what they hear. So you have one kid that's like, my dad says you're a cheater. He says that you just are getting favoritism and that's the only reason you're still alive, which actually does get to Carl, and he does start reflecting on that, and he's like, I mean, is it true? But also, Carl's response to that is just like, he doesn't skip a beat. Like, there's no conversation about what's said. He's just like, ask your dad why that other guy comes around every time he's away from home. But then Carl, too, is constantly turning the tables on things. He's constantly doing what is least expected by the game makers, you know, like turning to everyone and saying, how can I kill them? You tell me, because don't they have extra information? Like, isn't that what you love to watch? Us all kill each other and get this intel and figure out how to use it? Go ahead, give me some too. You know, like, he's very brass in the way that he just kind of confronts the reality of the situation, throws it back in people's faces, and then uses that to his advantage. The bit of the enthusiastic double gonorrhea. Insane. It's so ridiculous. And then like the way it's all done, you know, where it's like, you've given, is it vra? Is that how you should say it? Like, I I couldn't process exactly, because I'm not reading it, you know, I'm listening to it. So I'm not entirely sure that I'm hearing it right. But anyway, where it's like a notification like, Carl gave Raw gonorrhea. And then it just keeps coming back around and around, and it's a mess. You know what else is escalating in this book? Not just the chaos, not just the humor, not just the emotions, my goodness, but also the AI needs to get it together.
I cringed. New achievement. This little piggy made a boom boom. You deployed a bomb with the supple, curved sole of your foot. You took your perfectly perfect 30.004861 centimeter long right foot and compressed it against an explosive device. A device named after me, no less. Oh, and you gave it a naughty little shove before you pushed it out the door and detonated it. You killed them. You killed them all for your daddy.
Actually, you know what? Another thing that just comes off very light, comes off very casual, but ends up being a reflection of like how sick this all really is, was the fan event where people are going through the line to meet Carl and to get his autograph. And it's person after person that's just there fangirling, or, you know, being a fan about, I love the way you kill that person. Like, I love watching everybody die. It's so fun. It's so entertaining for me. And, you know, that just makes Carl feel a little bit gross, as it should. But Carl actually does end up attacking one of them. And, I mean, yeah, it seemed pretty bad. But, like, he got medical attention, and really, at the end, it was just a scratch, is what it amounted to. And yet, Carl's being sued for it. And Carl even reflects on, like, the irony of, you're all here talking about how much you love these sick, sick games, but I put a scratch on one of you, and, like, now I've broken the rules. Now I might be enslaved for however many years. Again, I want to emphasize Donut is just amazing in this book. You know, like, she's handling things when Carl is abruptly pulled away and he's like, no, like, my friends are in danger. I don't know that they got to the safe room. You can't just take me away here for this. Was that during the bee thing, or was that during the con? I don't know. There's so much happening in this book, but, you know, that situation. And like, they do manage on their own, but then also Donut is clearly doing stuff behind the scenes and strategizing stuff that she either can't or probably can't communicate with Carl right now, and he just kind of has to trust her. But she's so privy to what's going on and what she needs to do, and Carl and Donut have different strengths in the way that they navigate the dungeons, but they're both clearly very capable, and we're getting to see more of that from Donut again in this book, and in a way that I'm just like, what are you up to? I'm going to talk about one more scene here, because it was a really significant scene for me, and that was with Miriam. Scenes like this, you know, Carl does a lot of reflecting and confronting of the games and the systems, and like really showing or thinking about how sick the games are. But even more effective than that is scenes like this, where we actually have to watch tragedy happen because of the games, like Miriam wanting to die to save everyone else, to stop the spread of vampirism. I think it was Donut that reflected on this. She called it, she said, this is an impossible situation. And Carl's response was, it's not impossible. It's just incredibly hard. Oh man, I loved, it sucked. It was just off. I loved Carl's decision. It's like, I'm not going to kill her. That's just not who I am. But I will stay with you until the sun rises. Prepotente broke my heart in this scene. I think I wrote down his quote. Hang on. She said everything was going to be all right, but it was a lie. I mean, he got a benefactor box, but he just sobbed. You know, like, it was horrible. It was just a horrible, horrible scene. It was horrible for everybody involved. I think Donut actually, she comforts him in this scene. Yeah. Donut comforts him in this scene, and she tells him, like, just cry. Like, just grieve. You just focus on having emotions right now, and we'll deal with what comes. We'll deal with protecting whatever opponent shows up here, we'll deal with it. You don't worry about that. Just grieve. And then Ferdinand shows up and tries to kill Mago. There's so much happening in this book. My goodness. Anyway, I think those are some of the main beats and the main things that kind of hit me in this section. I know there was a lot. There was a lot, but I've read a lot of it. I'm not gonna apologize. I'm having trouble putting the book down. I will, hopefully by the time I get to the end, I can kind of reflect back and maybe talk about it a little bit more. We'll see, honestly. Like, I'm just letting it happen to me. I'm not fighting it. I'm not trying to pause to make sure that I get the vlog clips. I'm just letting this one take me away. So, see you in a minute. Okay, so we have finished Carl, and man, these books are getting harder and harder to talk about in this vlog style because there's so much happening. So I think I said this in the last clip, but I'm focusing on the big moments because it's such a chaos storm from beginning to end in this book. And I will say, and I'm sorry if I've said this already in another clip, but this is easily outdoes the last two books, because the last two books were very chaotic, but they also had their lulls. You know, they had their spots that I was kind of, my interest was ebbing a little bit, or you know, like the chaos was getting away from itself a little bit from my personal preference. But this book, I really never felt that way, even though it was just as chaotic as any other book. Everything felt really focused, really like there was intention behind everything done, and the emotional side, or the emotional like breathing moments were perfectly placed. I never really felt like anything was dragging, or like, man, I'd like to unpack that a little bit more. Like, oh my goodness, this book is probably my favorite book of the Carl books. It's like right up there with 1 and 2, but I think it does outdo each of them. Mostly just because of the emotional hits and because of Prepotente. I loved him from the start because he's a yelling goat, like what screaming goat. What more do I need from a character? Apparently, even though the bit that he was plenty enough for me. I'm shocked. And I think I said the same thing about Samantha. This series should have shallow side characters. You know, it should be the Carl and Donut show and a couple of side characters that I care about somewhat, but they should not have the emotional impact that they do. And I say this, I don't say should not as I don't take that serious. I mean, I wouldn't expect it of a series like this. But I think Prepotente, I keep saying Donut was a star of this book, and it's true, but Prepotente was too. The stakes were really raised in this book as well. All the gifts going to Donut because they kind of anticipate, all the sponsors are expecting everyone else to die. The NPCs, the way to really free them here is to get them out of the game entirely. The Masquerade was built up all throughout this book, and then we get there and it's funny. We have the performance of Mongo and Donut. We have the craziness. I think the most impactful scene, I don't know what the most impactful. Miriam was one of the top most impactful scenes. We talked about that already. Donut grieving is one of the most impactful scenes. Donut I guess I should say Donut being unable to grieve the way that she knows that she should, and looking at Carl and saying, am I broken? Like, what's wrong with me? Our friends are dead. Why am I not crying? Why am I not grieving the way everyone else is? I think Carl was able to relate to her there and give her the right words and give her the right framework to understand what's happening. That of the mask. You're wearing a mask right now, and it's good because it's keeping you alive. And you're going to keep wearing that mask. You're going to keep persevering. And eventually, when things finally calm down, which is kind of a promise that, you know, we will get through this, because things aren't going to calm down until they get out. So telling her, when things calm down, you will be able to take the mask off, and you will cry, and you will grieve, and it'll be a lot. But until then, keep the mask on, keep surviving. And it was sort of I read it as a promise that we're going to get out of, there will be a time when you will be safe again. It's not now, but there will be a time. But it was also a promise of, and I will still be by your side when that time comes, which I don't know. I don't know. So I do think that Carl, I'm worried about Carl. He risks his life a lot, but he does have that plot armor, you know, that the kid pointed out to him. So fingers crossed. I do think that Carl was able to identify that because Carl very much too is wearing a mask. I mean, Carl's a really vulnerable character, and so is Donut. She had lots of explosions of emotions, especially with B, which, oh goodness, I want to talk about B for a second. But he, you know, they're not numb and they're not shut off to expressing their emotions, but he too is wearing a mask. He too is like, I'm trying to survive here. I'm trying to save as many people as I can on the way out, and I'm trying to take you down. And so like he sees what Donut is forcing herself into in order to make it through. And he's able to relate to her and help her kind of have the framework to deal with her grieving, as well as give her permission that your grieving will come, you know, later on. It brings me back to the scene with Miriam where Prepotente, you know, was, I mean, he lost the most significant person in his life, goat in his life. And it's like, it was shock. You know, like, I feel like Prepotente could have had a similar reaction where he just like shuts the emotions off for survival. And Donut gave him the comfort and told him, you grieve. We're going to cover you. We're going to handle everything that comes around us. That's going to be on us. Your task is to grieve. And now she has her time of grieving, but she's unable to access it. So I don't know, that just did a lot for me for her character, that she would do that for Prepotente, even though like that's not accessible to her. The B stuff, you know, looking back retrospectively, it is really interesting because I kind of expected Beatrice to come back on the scene and for it to be a big to-do. I think I've probably mentioned it several times in other videos because in my mind, like the looming B is still alive. Well, I mean, we didn't know, but I feel like it was, you know, it was easy for us to anticipate that. The looming possibility that B is still alive and will show up again. Like, I expected it to be a big thing. And it was for Donut. But I expected it to be a big thing, you know, like disrupting everything. Will Donut have to choose who she goes with? Will Carl, all of his old feelings and anxieties and everything come back up? Like, I anticipated a firestorm. And instead, it was kind of a non-issue. And to me, that underscores the importance of the game because everything that happened with B did affect Carl. It was significant. It did affect Donut. But ultimately, what they're dealing with now is just so huge that dealing with like old relationship stuff and old grudges, it's just not really, it's just not on their mind. It's not a priority. It's not going to be something that phases them at this point. They have more important things to be dealing with right now. I also want to talk about Prepotente a little bit more. I'm so sorry, but I do, because I feel like Prepotente is Carl at this point, you know, like he had this attachment to his mom and then lost his mom, and now he's like, his whole world view has shifted, but it's going to affect him a lot. Prepotente went from the comedic side character to now someone very powerful. Oh my goodness. Oh, I forgot to mention he absorbed the ring. But anyway, someone very powerful, and I mean, he broke the level. And now he too he's been hardened by, this is the way I should word it. He's been hardened by the games. And this was the emphasis, I think, of book 4 for Carl. It might have been book 3, but I really want to say it's book 4, was Carl recognizing that the games were shaping him. They were hardening him. They were forcing him to face impossible situations and make a decision. He can't always do what is the most clean or noble. Sometimes he just has to do what he has to do. And then turning on, the powers that be and saying, I will break you. You won't break me. I will break you. I feel like Prepotente is there right now. He had, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe book 6 will come around and he'll be the exact same, happy-go-lucky. I just don't think so. I think that watching the horrors that are going on around them, feeling the effects of personal loss, and the reality of how sick this whole thing is, has shaped him much like it's shaped Carl. Has made him into a more hardened person, a more hardened, I guess, being, than Carl. Not than Carl, like Carl. So now the question is, are Carl and Prepotente going to become very close in the way in the way that they've been shaped, in the way they view things, and in their goals and how they move forward? Or is it going to be like Prepotente has this kind of similar trajectory, but then he takes it too far, and now he's going to start going a little bit off the rails with how he handles things? Maybe he isn't going to be anchored in, but I'm still loyal to everyone around me, but I still protect everyone. Like, is he going to have that high moral compass that means I'm going to break you, but I'm going to protect him and protect all of them? Or is he just going to say, I'm going to break you, whatever the cost? You know what I mean? Like, we have opportunities here for Prepotente to be another Carl that helps us get things done, or almost to be like the anti-Carl. Like, you know, he's been shaped by everything too, but what does it shape him into? This isn't me hoping for these things. I want Prepotente to be amazing. I love him. He's one of my top characters now. I don't want anything terrible to happen for his character. I want him to be, I don't need a tragic character arc for my screaming goat. What a weird series this is. What are you doing to me? So now I'm nervous about Prepotente's arc and where he's going to go. And then Katya, only one of them is going to be able to make it out of floor 9? That means we're going to have to kill Katya at some point. We still love her. We still have all these memories and all this affection for her, but we can't leave Donut behind. That can't be done. I don't want that. I guess when I say I'm going to focus, I'm thinking back on all the things I've talked about. I guess when I say I'm going to focus on big things, I mean big character moments, because that really has been the main thing that I've really discussed throughout this entire vlog. I hope you don't mind that. I am more of a character reader, and when plot is so everywhere, and I don't say that in a negative way, it's just the truth that these books are, I really do just hone in on the big character moments and the big things that we're doing. So that's what I've done here. This was my experience for book 5. It moved fast, it hit hard, and I'm a little bit left reeling, honestly. I'm gonna take a break. I'm not going straight into book 6. I'm gonna focus on other things, especially since I've been more, my mood has been shifting a lot towards more serious books, more nonfictions. So I'm gonna pause before I go into book 6, give myself a little bit of a break, but book 5 was so good. Please do chat with me more in the comments. I'd like to discuss more about it with you, some of the things that were really impactful for you, some of the things that you want to talk about that I didn't mention in this particular vlog. Please chat with me more in the comments. I will see you again soon. Bye.